All right, welcome. Today we're diving into something that's, well, absolutely critical, protecting India's vital water ecosystems. We're talking everything from the Himalayan rivers all the way down to its thousands of kilometers of coastline. These systems are facing a squeeze like never before. So, yeah, let's get right into it. It really all boils down to this one single question. For the longest time, conservation has been about trying to kind of freeze a place in time, right? But what do you do when the fundamental rules of the game, the climate, the sea level, even the rain are constantly shifting under your feet? That's the huge puzzle we need to figure out. So here's how we're going to break it all down. First, we'll get a handle on what's really at risk. Then we'll unpack this double threat that everyone's talking about. After that, we'll get into the solutions, looking at how to adapt both freshwater and coastal systems. We'll even zoom in on the Sundarbans as a case study before wrapping up with what looks to be a whole new path forward for conservation. Okay, so first things first, why should you care? Why does this matter so much? Well, because India's rivers and its enormous 7,500-kilometer coastline, they aren't just features on a map. They are, and this is no exaggeration, the absolute foundation of the entire nation. I mean, that really says it all, doesn't it? These systems are what make agriculture possible for millions of people. They provide jobs through fishing and tourism. They're home to this incredible web of life. It's all woven into the very fabric of society. But here's the problem. That lifeblood is under pressure from what our sources are calling a dangerous mix. It's not just one thing, it's a combination of two really powerful forces that are basically pushing these ecosystems to the breaking point. And our old ways of thinking they can't handle it. And this right here perfectly captures that double threat. You've got these massive climate pressures on one side, global warming, rising seas, crazier storms, and then at the exact same time, you've got these direct human pressures, dams choking off rivers, pollution, habitat being destroyed. The key thing to remember is these aren't separate issues. They feed off each other, they make each other worse, and together they're just stripping away the natural resilience these places once had. And if you want to make that climate threat feel really real, just look at this number. Almost a full meter of sea level rise is projected by the end of the century. Now, that might not sound like a lot, but for communities living on the coast, for wetlands, for farms, it's a total game changer. It means saltwater pushing miles inland. It means permanent flooding. It means entire habitats could just vanish. Okay, so that's the problem. It's a big one. But let's pivot to the solutions, because there are solutions. Let's start inland, with India's rivers and lakes. The big idea here is all about getting things flowing again, restoring that natural connectivity. And it really boils down to a clear three-step strategy. First off, we've got to manage dams differently. We need to release water in a way that mimics how a river would naturally flow, which is crucial for everything living downstream. Second, we have to restore the areas around the rivers, the banks, the floodplains. They act like sponges and shock absorbers. And third, and this is a big one, we have to stop looking at a river as just a line of water and start managing the entire watershed, the whole catchment area, as one big, interconnected system. All right, now let's head out to the coast, which is on the absolute front line of all this change. The game here is all about building up defenses against those rising seas and bigger storms. And the secret weapon is nature itself. And this brings us to a super important idea, ecosystem-based adaptation, or EBA for short. Put simply, it just means using nature to protect ourselves. So instead of just building another concrete seawall, you work on restoring the natural systems that have been doing that job for thousands of years. Turns out it's often way more effective, it's cheaper, and it comes with all these amazing benefits for wildlife and local economies. And here's what EBA actually looks like in practice. We're talking about restoring mangrove forests and coral reefs. They're incredible natural barriers against storms. We're also talking about planning ahead, creating space for marshes and beaches to actually move inland as the sea rises. It also means designing smarter networks of marine protected areas and identifying and protecting those special places called climatic refugia, spots that are naturally tougher in the face of climate extremes. Now, to see how all these pieces fit together in the real world, let's zoom in on one of the most unique and most vulnerable places on the entire planet, the Sundarbans Delta. This is where all those threats and all these potential solutions are colliding right now. This quote just perfectly sums up what's at stake here. The Sundarbans isn't just another forest. It's a world treasure. It's the only place on Earth where you can find the iconic Bengal tiger living in a mangrove forest. Its survival is, frankly, a global responsibility. But my gosh, just look at the storm it's weathering. Sea level rise here isn't just some future problem. It is an existential threat to the entire ecosystem. It's getting pummeled by more and more intense cyclones. Salt water is creeping further and further inland, killing crops and stressing the trees. And, as if that weren't enough, dams way upstream are trapping all the mud and silt that the delta needs to build new land and literally keep its head above water. So what's the big takeaway here? It's that you absolutely cannot fight the delta. You have to work with its wild, dynamic nature. That means, yes, large-scale mangrove restoration, but it also means planning for the forest to migrate inland and figuring out how to get that vital fresh water and sediment flowing back into the system again. Okay, so let's zoom back out for a second. Because what's happening in the Sundarbans, and really all across India, is forcing us to completely rethink the very goal of conservation itself. It's a huge shift in thinking. You see, for decades, the name of the game was preservation. The goal was basically to hit the pause button and keep things just as they were. But in a world that's changing this fast, it's not possible anymore. The new goal, the only goal really, is resilience. It's about managing for a future we can't predict. It's less about focusing on one single species and more about restoring the fundamental processes, like water flow, that allow the entire system to adapt and survive. And this new approach has a name: adaptive stewardship. Really, it's about treating everything we do as a kind of experiment. We try something, we watch what happens, we learn from it, and then we adjust our approach. It's dynamic, it connects all the dots, and most importantly, it accepts that we don't have all the answers, but that we can learn our way forward. And that leaves all of us with this final, massive question. The future of India's lifeblood, its water ecosystems, really depends on our ability to make this shift, to stop fighting change and start steering it. It's a huge challenge, no doubt about it. But as we've seen, the path forward isn't about building higher walls. It's about restoring the natural strength and flexibility that allowed these systems to thrive in the first place. Thanks so much for watching.